Hello and welcome to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. We have another great show. Actually, this is probably going to be one of my favorites of the week. I can just tell. We have Gary Boomershine here. Gary's been around, done it all. I'm not going to go through his bio, but it's extensive. He's bought and sold lots of properties. He's built multiple companies. He came from the family industry in real estate. So he's been there, done that. And as he was growing his real estate business, he realized that he needed to run it as a business. And that's where he founded realestateinvestor.com, which ended up today helps real estate investors and business owners run their businesses the way they should be run. And so welcome to the show, Gary. Thanks for joining us.
It's really great to be here, Beau, and hopefully I can deliver some awesome value to all your loyal listeners. This should be a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I guess can we start back on when you were in the mix of like flipping houses and when you realized you needed to create systems and create a business, and how you kind of thought through your platform now, what it is today, and then talk a little bit about what it does.
Yeah. So my quick background: I live in California, the communist state of California, as you and I have been chatting about. In fact, we unloaded everything. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. Grew up in an entrepreneurial family. We had a real estate brokerage called Boomershine Realtors, and I was a licensed agent literally 3 weeks after turning 18, and paid for college. Got a computer engineering degree from UC Davis way back in the day, and paid for school literally by door knocking and cold calling and holding open houses and working in the family business. We also had a fleet of rental properties. And so I was, changing doorknobs and painting and doing sheetrocking and stuff like that. I really went down a totally different path. I really didn't want to do the real estate thing. It was the whole Silicon Valley explosion. And I had a family mentor that said, Gary, the future is in computers. And he said, I would recommend getting some sort of technology degree and then go work for one of the big consulting firms, Arthur Andersen, Price Waterhouse, McKinsey, what have you, and then get into high ticket sales. So he knew my background. So that's the path that I went. And I had a great run. It was awesome. I got hired by the largest technology consulting firm in the world, worked 80-hour weeks, traveled all over the world, and never actually saw the light of day. So it was in 2004 where my wife and I basically said we'd had enough. We had no life. We had two babies. I actually had a 2-month-old and a 4-year-old and a big mortgage. And we went cold turkey real estate. I would tell everybody, if you're brand new and you're wanting to get in real estate is the dream, I would say, don't do it the way I did it. You really don't want to be Napoleon and burn all your bridges. It's like real estate is a long-term play. And a lot of people get lost. So I want to just share it for a lot of people that, and I've got a new book. I'd love to give the new book. It's in the final stages. It's called The Freedom Code. And I want it as a disruptor in our space. I'm going to give it to everybody. I've got really amazing reviews on it. And so I'll give that to everybody. But real estate is an amazing play, but you got to be super clear as to the why and the what. People get into this business for financial freedom and having a life, and it's very easy to get lost. So I'm going to go back to your original question, Beau, about building a team. A lot of people, they go and they want to get rich in real estate or buy some income properties, but they don't realize real estate is a finance game, and it's a game of leverage. And it's not just leveraging other people's money, it's leveraging other people's time and resources and experience. And so if you are a real estate investor, what I would actually call you is a real estate business operator. If you're actually buying in multiple properties and turning that into a business. And what I tell everybody is every business needs a CEO. And if you're a CEO doing $10 an hour work, you're going to have a $10 bank account. So your time is of value, and you want to leverage other people. So I'm really good. The money-making activities in real estate is all about finding a great deal. That's where all of the money is made, typically finding the great deal and then putting people, whether it's doing the rehab and fixing, whether it's actually getting a property management team. You want to have other people do it because it's a game of leverage. And that's how we become wealthy. And that's how we become ultimately rich in real estate and have a life. And I got lost. So when I started in 2004, my wife and I were going to get into apartments. And I went to a seminar with 1,000 people. And I did like everybody else does. I got excited about this little course going down the foreclosure route. And now, needless to say, I made a ton of money, but I tried to do it all myself. And I went back and I was working 80-hour weeks. And it really wasn't until 2013 that the light bulb came on and blew up my whole business. I was making a lot of money, but I was 50 pounds heavier and I had no life. And so you want to basically, this business for real estate is finding great deals. And that really comes down to all of your effort is marketing and sales and raising money, and then ultimately growing your team. And if you're not doing those things, and instead you're actually the guy sending out postcards or, getting on the phone and talking to sellers and doing what a $10 an hour, somebody overseas, then you're not going to have any money. And I see a lot of people get trapped is they know that they need deals. They'll spend $25,000 to $50,000 on a coaching program, or they'll go out and spend all this money on asset protection when they don't have any assets and masterminds, yet they don't spend money on the one thing that matters: marketing and sales. It's a return on investment, right? You spend $1 to make $10, or you spend $1 to make $100. And so that's where realestateinvestor.com comes in. I did it for my own business. I started it. We're the largest marketer in real estate. This is not a promotion for Real Estate Investor, but I'll just give a quick little like what we do. We've done over 90 million pieces of direct mail for some of the most sophisticated investors in the country, and also a lot of newer investors. So we manage all the direct mail. We have the systems to do all the follow-up, which is key, to do all the follow-up text messaging and management and voice broadcasts, so that you're never, if you talk to a seller, it's an average of 12 interactions to get a deal, and most people only follow up twice. And then the phone team, a scripted professional phone team that actually does all of what I call kissing of the frogs, because leads come in, but there is a huge amount of work to actually, you got good, you got bad, and you got ugly leads. You got people that will scream, never call me again. You got to filter through all those, because about 45 leads or sellers that put up their hand ultimately will turn into one deal. And that's time tested. Doesn't matter what kind of marketing. On average, it's about 45 leads to one deal. And so I basically built the done for you service with an expert team and the systems and the management of that to do it all for people at a kind of a fraction of the cost of them doing it on their own. So that's realestateinvestor.com. So that investors, we can actually do this stuff that's high money making activities, right? Closing great deals where all the work has been done, raising money, and putting the team in place to scale. And pretty passionate about that.
Yeah, I love that. That makes complete sense, and it resonated with me because I see everybody going to these like how to underwrite multifamily conferences and all this stuff. It's like, who cares if you have no deal flow? Like I just thought about it when you're saying that. I'm like, you're right. Like, why is somebody setting up this sophisticated asset protection program for 20 grand, spending 40 grand on coaching, and yet now they're left with no money to invest in what actually is going to return an ROI is like sending out marketing, cold outreach that's going to convert leads. And it's just like, it's kind of a no brainer, but it, like when you were saying that, I've seen so many newer investors going this route. I'm like, why are you going this route? Just go get deals or build systems.
Yeah. It's interesting. We live in a society, and I'm guilty of this too, but we live in a society of push button. We all want push button. We want a little pill, right? If we're sick, or let's say we want to lose some weight, we don't, at the end of the day, you got to drop the calories and you got to get some fitness, and it takes some time. There takes some work. but everybody's looking for push button everything. And here's the thing, there's a lot of systems and technology versus when I got in the business in 2004. We had to do all this stuff manually. But today you can automate almost everything, but you cannot automate talking to people. This business is a relationship business. And so a lot of people, I have an advanced sales course and compression coaching. And it's the one thing that you somehow, some way, you've got to build a relationship with the seller. You got to build trust, and you have to come up with a solution to their pain in exchange for making big dollars. And so you have to talk to people. And a lot of people, they'll spend money on some new little automated CRM or a new data stacking tool or new websites, whatever it is, to bypass the one thing they have to do. And I see this for a lot of people. Here's the statistics. This is the cold hard statistics, and that is 95% of all people that come and get into real estate investing are out and have failed in the business within the first 5 years. 90% in the first year, 95% over the first 5 years. I was actually speaking in front of about 400 people, and I actually had a little table in the front. And I said, the statistic is, if we look around the entire room, it's only this group of people that will be here, doing really well in 5 years. And it breaks my heart because it doesn't have to be that way. And here's the thing. You want to follow the best practice, which means there's nothing new under the sun in real estate. This is the second oldest business in the world. But if you're going to wholesale, don't try to reinvent the wheel. If you're going to basically go buy multifamily apartments, don't reinvent the wheel. You want to find what works in the current market, typically by somebody who's doing it, and follow what they do to a T. And if you're, on deal flow, again, there's no business if you're not talking to sellers. None. You've got to get in front of sellers. You can talk about being a real estate investor as long as you want, but at some point you got to make some money at this. And so you got to find some deals, and then you got to close those deals. That's marketing and sales. And almost every business works the same. So how do we do that today? There's on-market deals and there's off-market deals. And on-market deals, that's typically the MLS. That's bank-owned REOs and HUD properties. It almost doesn't exist in this current market, right? You could go to wholesalers, somebody else who's already done all the work, and you can pay a premium. You're going to pay a $15,000, $20,000 premium to a wholesaler who locked up the work and did all the marketing. But at the end of the day, somebody actually has to do the marketing. So how do you do and find off-market deals? You got to go direct to the seller. It means you're going to either do direct mail, maybe radio, maybe TV ads, pay-per-click, door knocking, cold calling, text messaging. There's just a handful of methods. And I like direct mail. It's not the only way to do it. I like direct mail because, number one, it's easy. If it's done right, you can have somebody else do it. Number two, it's scalable. So a lot of these other methods, it doesn't scale. You can buy one property every 3 months, but with direct mail, you can usually buy anywhere from 1 to 20 properties a month. And it's predictable. So at the end of the day, it's about how much money do I have to spend in order to close the deal. So if you're in Pennsylvania, you should be spending about $1,200 to $1,500 in marketing to get a deal. If you're in California, it's going to be a lot more expensive. I just liquidated everything to get out of California, unloaded everything. We got completely into free and clear assets and lending. And we ended up in an area called Sonora. It's up by Yosemite. It's about 3 hours from, and I know you know where this is at. I dropped, just for kicks, we dropped $10,000 of our direct mail from realestateinvestor.com and used my phone team. I've never had so many phone calls in any of my markets, but the phone was ringing off the hook. We locked down 3 properties immediately, and I probably have another 5 that I'll knock down. So my cost per deal is about $2,500 per deal. So I dropped $2,500 in marketing. That gets about 45 leads. About 15 of those are any good. And I made offers. I think I ended up making offers on 4 houses and closed 3 of them. I got 50 cents on the dollar, had a bad tenant in it. So I just got rid of the tenant, and we're doing a quick rehab, and I'm going to probably turn and make about 80 grand. I bought another one where I got owner financing at 2% interest for 30 years. This beautiful house, I got a beautiful house. It's about a mile from me, an older seller, and she didn't want to pay capital gains. And I worked her a solution that was a win-win. I got this property about 60 grand under market. It'll do about 1,500 a month in cash flow for 30 years. No bank financing. I put 35 grand down. I have another one that we're living in right now, which is part of our strategy. It's on 2 acres that we picked up as an Airbnb, and had my family come in, my wife and the kids, because my kids wanted to get involved in our family economy. And without me doing anything, they completely did a quick rehab, decorated it, and we were going to turn it into an Airbnb, but we actually moved into it. And we're going to go pick up 3 more in a couple of other states so that we can actually just go from, my wife and I can go from one to the next, and, and always be cash flowing our properties. So.
That's awesome. So,
yeah.
Okay, let's just take me as an avatar. My strategy is I want to buy off market properties, typically probably duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes in this certain boroughs and counties of Pennsylvania, where actually they're smaller markets with populations of 5,000 to 8,000 people. So they're probably not getting marketed to at all. So, Gary, so I come to you, do you guys do like a la carte as well, where you guys will, what I'm saying is you guys will create the postcard or whatever is going to be sent. You guys will handle the inbound call, and then you're going to deliver me a lead sheet, like saying, hey, we talked to this person, they're interested in selling. Here's the data sheet on it. And then I take it from there.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So the first thing that happens, you want to think of our company is we're not really an a la carte. We are really, a lot of people in other industries would call us a marketing and sales agency. So we're experts. Instead of you having to, we're going to be a heck of a lot smarter because we have more experience than anybody. Anybody in this niche, because we've done so much of it. All right. So what happens is we will have you fill out a little worksheet. We get on a call with you and have a strategy session in terms of exactly where you are, what market, what kind of product that you're looking to purchase, and how many of them. And also we'll identify what kind of staff do you have, because we want to make sure this is a total partnership. Really, we have to be accountable. We're going to be incredibly accountable to get you the product and get you in front of the sellers that you're interested in. And we want to make sure that you're all set up to be able to close those leads, because at the end of the day, we don't want to send, and we've done this before. We've had somebody, we sent over 1,000 leads, about 200 that were qualified, ready to go, and they never actually called any of them. We're like, hey, give those to us. We'll go close them for you. But anyway, we'll spend time to understand what you want. We'll put together a marketing plan that says, here's exactly what we're going to recommend as experts. And here's exactly what we're going to do. Here's the postcards that we know that will be explosive in your market. We give you predictable numbers in terms of what we believe is going to be the response rate. So we're going to spend this amount of money. It's going to get this number of calls. This number of them are going to be lead sheets, or what we call qualified opportunities. They're pre-screened. Somebody's actually talked to them, and then we're going to pass them over to you. And then we want feedback. So we have a review with you every so often to say, hey, tell us how things are working so that we can fine tune it. And then you have the ability of scaling up or scaling down however you want. So we're going to provide the expert team. We're going to do the front end work to make sure that we've got a bulletproof marketing plan. Then we're going to go do it for you. And then we're going to continuously adjust so that you can scale up and scale down. We have a lot of people that have come in to buy one property every month or every 2. And then, 6 months later, they're buying 5 or 6 properties. We got a guy, you remember Clay Manship. Clay just got started with us, and he ended up having, it was a couple of years ago, he was a $2.5 million a year wholesaling business in Indianapolis. And we were generating about, 60% of his deal flow. So we really work to find the right people that are true real estate investors, and they understand that, they understand they're working with an expert, and we can do what we're best at. And it's really a partnership, and to make it right. And I've got we have a large staff. We have about 100 people on staff.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, this is Beau Eckstein, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. I appreciate you checking out our channel. On this podcast, we talk about real estate, investing, financing, business lending, and acquiring and expanding your business. I'm sure you will find some videos here that will help you build your business empire. There's a lot to see. Take your time and make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks again. For a newer investor, somebody who hasn't been running it as a business and now wants to step in, what kind of capital would they expect? Is this like a $5,000 a month kind of capital infusion to get started, where you got to do enough mailing and so forth to get the phone to ring? Because this isn't something you're going to want to just do once. You're probably sending multiple postcards and so forth. So
we are.
What kind of expectations for a newer? I know you have people probably spending 100,000 plus a month, like these big timers, but I'm just talking about somebody that's listening and saying, hey, I want to do this. I have the skill sets to do it. But I can't obviously start with 10 grand a month. Where would you see somebody getting started where they're going to see an ROI in a few months?
Yeah, it's market dependent. Here's what I typically tell everybody. If you're not committed, and by the way, you'll hear this from the guys that are really doing this business. Most of the gurus, Sean Terry, the guys that are really doing the business that have successful students, they're going to tell you, don't do any of the marketing unless you're committed to it for at least 6 months. We require, when somebody signs up with us, they're going to actually be committed for 3 months. Because, the average time that it takes to close a deal on average is about 90 days. From the time that the leads, the first lead comes in, on average, it's about 90 days. And we've seen a lot of people that come in and they'll put their toe in the water. And I call it being 3 feet from gold. So you want to be committed. We don't require it, but really you should be committed to 6 months of consistent drops. It's also market dependent, because if you're in Phoenix, you're going to be spending a lot more money than you are in North Carolina or Pennsylvania. And we can tell you what that number is, but I would say on the low side, you should be committed to a $1,500 a month marketing budget. That's just the marketing. That's not including the resources to do the work. Up to $5,000 a month is what I'd recommend. And I almost, it's like, a lot of people will come in and they'll drop $500 worth of direct mail, and they'll get 15 or 20 leads, and they say, oh, marketing doesn't work. My market's too unique. It's too competitive. They'll have every excuse in the book, when they just didn't realize marketing, it's a formula. You got to spend enough money with the right marketing to get 45 leads. About a third of those are going to turn into the good ones. About half of those you'll actually make offers on, because 15, you're going to find some sellers that are going to say, yes, I'd be interested in selling my $500,000 house for $1 million, because they think you're a sucker. So you're going to get some of those that are qualified, but you have unrealistic expectations from the seller. And then you're going to find about 7 that are good. And then you go and you make offers on those. You should close 1. If you're good at sales, you'll probably close multiple. We actually have a large percentage of our customers are what we call hybrid agents. These are really, really sharp agent teams that, have got large teams, but they're actually coming in and making multiple offers. They're coming in and saying, hey, I can buy the house for cash, or I can list your property. And so, for every investor deal, these hybrid agents might take 3. They may buy 1 house and get 2 listings. So
and it also depends. Like on my strategy, I want to hold cash flow. So it's a little bit like I would see myself doing this, and And then obviously some have to be cash deals because they just want cash and they won't. But I'm also looking to like, will they sell or finance, just like you got that recent deal?
Yeah.
Like, because I want to acquire as many as I can. And the price points of properties I'm buying are very cheap. They're anywhere from 30 to 130,000. So it's like,
let me add something, Beau, for everybody. When people come to realestateinvestor.com, I mean, our whole purpose and the whole company is driven, since we've been doing this since 2005, is to provide a measurable difference that impacts lives. We take a lot of responsibility for the longevity of our customers and seeing them successful. And so when people come to us, they have to apply. We want to make sure it's a good fit. And we want to make sure that this whoever comes in and we're going to service them, that we know that we're going to be able to get them successful. So that's number one. Number two is we have found that a lot of people, especially if they're fairly new, they may have a lot of the pieces in play, but they're missing some of the training. So we found, a lot of people are actually nervous to get on the phone with a seller, because the number one fear after death is public speaking. It's the fear of rejection, especially for men. And sales doesn't actually happen until you get a rejection. By the way, that's classic sales 101. And so we have an advanced sales course. I give it away to all of our high-end customers. We don't even tell them, but it's a 1-month compression coaching and sales program. And that was a big hole, because we were generating a lot of leads, and we found that a lot of people, they didn't know how to close sellers. And a lot of people were doing it the wrong way. They've been taught the wrong approach. So that's something that we do. A lot of people, they may be missing something. They may need to hire a salesperson, or they may need to hire somebody in their staff. And so we'll get them the resources and the training and the know-how, because we want them successful. And we hear that a lot. People are like, we never give up on our customers. Once we bring them in and we're servicing them, we want to make sure that they're out there raving. I mean, we've never had a negative complaint on the Better Business Bureau and thousands of customers, as an example. I haven't had a mistake on doing direct mail for people in probably 6 years, not one. So 90 million pieces of mail. And that's pulling the mailing list. We have to go pull the mailing list. We have to do what's called the nasty 19, the cleaning up of the list. And some of our lists are probably some of the best lists that are out there. That are proprietary lists. We have 2 of them. Some of our higher end clients have their own list, and they'll incorporate that and give it to us. But we have to make sure that everything that goes out, the phone number that goes on it. A couple of little hints how important this is the phone number that's on the postcard has to match the phone number that's being texted, right? And also the phone number that's being dialed. It's a really big deal. So if a seller, because of all the fraud and the spam and stuff that happens, if you've got the wrong system, you're trying to do it on yourself, or you bought some Scotch tape and bubble gum system, you'll have a phone number on a postcard, yet, the lead comes in and a text message goes out or a phone call goes out to that seller, and they won't answer the phone. So there's a lot of moving parts, especially in this market. You got to get it right. And I think that's why our clients like us, because they know it's going to get done right by experts, all done for them.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I'm getting a lot out of this, but I want to also switch the focus a little bit, because when I heard you sold most of your Bay Area or all your Bay Area assets, and you moved up outside of Yosemite, we were talking before we went live, and we're in a very interesting economy. We're in there's a war going on, there's inflation, there's COVID, and during COVID, it was like there was a standstill for like 2 months, and all of a sudden the market blew up again, and everything, everywhere you go, there's a shortage of inventory and so forth. But it's been like 12, 13 years of a pure bull run, and like something's got to break down here. And they printed so much money in PPP and idle loans. I mean, I know lots of people that got big, huge idle loans. There's still the forbearances going on. I mean, you've been around the real estate market for a long time, probably longer than most real estate people that are out there talking. where do you see the market heading? Where do you think the opportunities might come around in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah. So I always say I don't have a crystal ball. I am a researcher by my background, and history is a great indicator of the future. And I will tell you, I'm probably the naysayer for, most people. Most people, it's shocking. They forgot 2008, right? They forgot the cycle, and they're full speed ahead. Like real estate is never going to have a downside again. They're going to make money like they never have. Here's the thing. And I've been saying this for probably 5 years on every podcast that I've ever done, including all of my own. Real estate is a 7-year cycle. It has been a 7-year cycle for over 100 years, primarily because we are in a fiat money system controlled by a handful of people called the central bank that's actually worldwide. And this is now the longest cycle that we've ever had. It's gone to 13 years. And the cycle has always changed, not by natural supply and demand. It's always been what I've been referring to as a boogeyman event. All right, an artificial or manufactured event. And we had 9/11. We had the mortgage collapse, which, if you actually do any research on that was very manufactured for a very specific purpose. We had the oil embargo. We had the Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam. So you can just go back. And it's a very important thing that central bankers use for cycles. So it's a 7-year cycle. It just happens that this boogeyman event's called COVID, and it hasn't played fully out. So I think we're going to see a pretty substantial change in the market. And it's going to probably hit the coastal areas, similar to what happened in following the markets in California. Like California and 13 other markets follow about the same thing. Phoenix, usually Las Vegas, Oregon, Washington, California. You got the center part of the country that's probably fairly safe. Omaha, Nebraska, up and down in the cycles, they've never really changed more than about 6%. And I've broken it up into 4 different categories of the market. So I think we're going to see a pretty substantial change where a lot of people are going to get wiped out. So what I've been telling everybody is this is a time, I call it keep the best, sell the rest. So like my business, I am buying real estate, but I'm actually buying a lot more free and clear assets. I'm actually out of the debt play. I own the debt. So I'm doing a huge amount of first position lending. And then we're buying properties that either have owner financing and keeping them, or I'm putting really 100% cash. Why? Because I think we're going to see a period of time where people are not going to have the operating capital for a downturn. So I think most people, normally they're keeping about 6 months reserves. I think this is a time to have 12 months of reserves. So if the market stalls out, the mortgages are still going to be due. But if you don't have renters paying, and just like the game of Monopoly, that's how you get wiped out. So I see a small blip in the market. I think in the coastal areas, we're probably going to see a decrease in price. And I'm not going to even speculate. It could be anywhere from 10% to 30% or more. I don't think it'll be that high, followed by a massive inflationary period where the asset class of real estate skyrockets. So I'm telling everybody should be in real estate long term, but you have to be your portfolio needs to be balanced properly for about a 12 month period. Because I think times are going to get tough. I don't think the COVID thing's over. If anybody's following the Great Reset and a lot more of what's going on in terms of the global economy and the global plan and what's going on with IMF and the world banks. And I think there's a lot more coming in terms of what the future looks like. Some people would say that's conspiracy theory. For me, I'm looking on how to survive and thrive. And actually, I don't vilify the bankers. It's like, I want to see what they do and then replicate it, right? So buying physical metals. I love first position mortgages. If you have cash, I don't want my cash in the bank because that's, from my perspective, the least safe place. I want it in physical assets. Real estate, I think, is going to be a gold mine. But there's a lot of people that are doing the Burr method right now in real estate, and they're leveraged to an absolute hilt. A lot of people are getting in and they're building huge funds right now and massively leveraged. And I think just like every other previous cycle, those are the people who are going to get massively wiped out. There'll be a buying opportunity from them when that hits. A lot of us, if a ship is full of gold and it sinks, where does the ship go? The gold goes to the bottom of the ocean. So I'm a bottom feeder. I love buying, just like Warren Buffett says. You want to buy low when there's blood, when there's blood in the ocean. You want to buy low, you want to sell high, and you don't want to lose investor money. And so as a family, we came together and we were watching everything. And it's like, you know what? We're going to liquidate. We're going to completely do what nobody else is doing. And we're going to leave the state of California altogether. So we got completely out of debt. Anything that was attached to the Federal Reserve System, we immediately started buying free and clear assets and investing in properties that actually gave us almost a risk-free portfolio. And then I'm in a lot of first positions. So I'm lending. I lent $250,000 back by real estate that's worth $1.25 million. Getting 8.5% interest. I get 8.5% interest. I put up $250,000 first position on a property that's worth $1.25 million. My downside is I have to take back the property. So even if the worst earthquake and storm and economic depression happened, I would be happy to take back the property because I'm buying it at like 20 cents on the dollar. All right. So that's my recommend, and I'm loving my whole business. When I'm buying property, I'll say this last thing, especially for newer investors. I'm going to switch gears here just a little bit. You'll understand my point. When I'm looking at real estate, I'm looking at 3 buckets: cash now, cash flow, and cash later. And one of the things I see is a lot of investors, especially newer investors, are just looking at cash now. So they're wholesalers, they're fix and flip. And the problem is that's a transaction. It means do some work, get paid once. And that's a job. That's a job. I call it just over broke. And a lot of people are like, I'm going to do wholesaling long enough until I can get into owning a couple properties. And then I'm going to get into some apartments. And I never see anybody make that transition, almost nobody. So what I recommend and what I teach, and we share a lot of this at realestateinvestor.com, is you want to look at every single deal from a finance perspective, really as a banker. And so I keep the best, I sell the rest. So for every, I'd say for every 8 properties that I'm buying, I'm gonna wholesale a couple. I'm going to hotel a couple. I might rehab 1 or 2. And then I'm going to probably hold the remainder. And some of those remainder, the numbers are just too good. And I never want to get rid of them. So I get a lot of owner financing deals. This deal that I just bought at 2% interest for 30 years, right? I bought a property, no credit. I put up 35 grand and 2% interest. In fact, I even got discounted payments. So my payment for the next 3 years is $800 on a property that will bring in about $2,200 gross from rent with a property manager. And I'll end up netting on that one about $1,300 to $1,400 a month, doing nothing, right? Letting a renter pay down a mortgage at 2% interest. So that's my business. I love real estate. I'm always looking at it from a finance game. I get in storage and apartments, but usually I'm just a passive investor on those because I don't want to do any of the work. So it's all, how do I leverage my time? So hopefully that helps.
That was amazing. Amazing conversation. It gave me you dropped a lot of nuggets and I really appreciate your time. Where's the best place? Should they go to, do you have you want them to go a certain place if they want to find out more about you?
Yeah, I've got a very specific place I'll send everybody. This will get you on our list as well to get my free book, the Freedom Code that's coming out. And that's my gift to you. And I've got a whole bunch. I've got a lot on marketing, on virtual assistants. If you're trying to hire a VA, here's the secret sauce of what to do. A lot of people go down this rabbit hole of hiring a VA and don't realize they have to train them, manage them, keep them busy, and fire them, and go through 4 or 5 of them. So I've got a lot of tools and things, some of my best stuff. And where you can go for that is realestateinvestor.com/growth, GROWTH. And and for anybody, if we can help you at all on your deal flow and providing you an expert team to do a lot of this heavy lifting and hard work for you, love to help you any way we can.
Well, Gary, I really appreciate it. This was like really awesome conversation. I got a lot out of it. I know everybody else is going to get a ton out of this, and maybe just think totally different about, where the focus should be is not, it should be on the marketing and sales. And I should actually have people doing that for me, because I'm just going to do the high paid activities. And it doesn't make sense for me to try to send a postcard that I don't know is going to work, where somebody's got send out 90 million pieces of mail. It's like, why am I going to reinvent the wheel and look at it? Hey, I'm going to do this for 6 months. I'm going to invest $4 or $5 grand a month. Okay. That's X amount of dollars. Okay. If I get one deal, it's going to pay for it. Right. What happens if I get 10 deals? Then I'm freaking so happy. I hit my goal for the year, buying 10 properties. And then the next 6 months, I quadruple my goals. So it makes sense.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And what you'll find with us at realestateinvestor.com is we speak straight and we talk straight. We want to make sure that we set really good expectations. So what you can know beyond a shadow of a doubt is you're talking to good people who actually do this business. In fact, the gal that you'll talk to, Julia herself, she lives in Dallas. She's been on my team. She was actually a customer, but she's bought and sold over 200 houses herself. So you're going to come in, you're going to talk to real people that do this business, that are experts, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to tell you exactly what you need to be successful, and then we'll back it by our execution for you. And we love to see people scale. I mean, that's one of the things that makes us absolutely on fire, is actually seeing somebody. We've got a guy on the East Coast that had $17 in his bank account a couple of years ago at Christmas, borrowing the mortgage from a 16-year-old son. This guy's now a multimillionaire. He has his own coaching and mastermind programs. And so watching those guys that we can help a little bit, not just by marketing, but by providing the other things that nobody even knows we deliver. Javier, we actually told him with his wife that he was the problem in his business. He was trying to be the sales guy, and he's not a sales guy. He's a money raising guy. And he needed to get somebody on his team. And he came back and said, hey, you changed my life. And you also saved my marriage. And so that's what really gets us fired up. We love the testimonials and love on our members, because, this is a small industry. We're all doing this business, and it's constantly changing, right?
It sure is.
Awesome, Beau. Great chatting with you, and for all of your all the guests that have followed this. Hopefully we had a good conversation and gave you some nuggets.
Oh yeah, there's major nuggets. Thanks so much. And thanks everybody for watching, and please like and subscribe. I'll put the link for Gary down below, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Awesome.